come together and to celebrate tonight. This is a Mary Jane Schaefer Memorial Fund speaker that we're having tonight. And I wanted to honor Mary Jane Schaefer a little bit before I introduce Heidi Higby. Mrs. Schaefer, she was a 1931 graduate of Indiana University in Pennsylvania. She received a Bachelor of Science degree in Home Education Economics. After graduation, she returned to Pittsburgh and married. Mrs. Schaefer was an avid reader, and she took great pride in the fact that she created and maintained the library in the senior apartment complex in which she lived. She passed away in December 2003. She created an endowment to allow for speaker series for authors and researchers to discuss their personal works, as well as those that have a passionate interest in literature and libraries. It seems to be a natural fit to have Heidi Higby here with us tonight. It is my pleasure to introduce her as this year's Memorial Jane Schaefer speaker. About Heidi, she is a graduate of Indiana University of Pennsylvania with a Bachelor of Science in Elementary Education. Heidi enjoyed the challenge of pursuing her education at the graduate level. She already obtained her master's equivalency and is almost finished completing her master's degree in curriculum and instruction. Her year spent teaching third grade motivated her to write It Could Happen on the Bus. She wrote this book because she saw a need for more children's literature about bullying for parents and teachers. Currently, her school district is using the OES Bullying Prevention Program. Heidi conducts an OES class meeting once a week to discuss bullying prevention. Heidi married her best friend, John, and together they continue to raise their two children, Jocelyn and Chase. In her free time, Heidi enjoys traveling, scrapbooking, reading, and spending time with her family and friends. Heidi is blessed to have encouraging, faith-driven, and loving parents who have always supported and helped her reach her goals. Heidi was named Distinguished Young Alumni for 2013-2014 from Indiana University of Pennsylvania. She represented the Education Department. She spent the day speaking with classes in the Education Building and conducted a book signing on campus on the day of the festivities. Also, Heidi has served as a guest speaker to education classes and plans on speaking to additional graduate level classes over the summer. She enjoys going to school, libraries, churches, preschools, and other public venues to speak about her book and have book signings. Just last week, Heidi went to Homer City Elementary School and spoke at two large assemblies, attended the book fair, and conducted first grade mini lessons about the writing and illustration process. This book is a dream come true and something she had wanted to do since she was a little girl. She is honored to be a published author and thanks everyone who has supported and helped her along the way. We are indeed honored to have her here tonight. Heidi.
Would you like me to use the mic? Would it be better or without? Yeah? Okay. All right. Well, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here this evening. I am coming from school, so hopefully you'll bear with me. As she said, I teach third grade at East Pike Elementary School, and I just love teaching there. I have two kids, so they keep me very busy on the side as well. And I'm constantly doing things for my book. Thankfully, I've been able to go to a lot of assemblies recently, which has been really fun, especially since there's been a lot of bullying happening, unfortunately, all throughout the world. We're hearing about it a lot. So it's kind of nice to just get in there and talk about character education to all the schools. And I just love meeting all kinds of new students and faculty. It's been really eye-opening. A little bit about myself. I did graduate from IUP. I'm constantly taking classes, and right now through Gannon University, finishing up a new master's degree. And the reason I chose bullying is because we do an Olveus bully prevention program. Has any of you ever heard of the Olveus bullying prevention program? Good. You have a class meeting today, right? So once a week, our school sits down and we do a bully prevention lesson or character building a lesson to just show students how to be a good friend. And there really weren't many resources out there. And because of that, I started creating them, which my husband kept saying, you need to just put it out there. If you're looking for it, so are others. So eventually, after a lot of convincing, I wrote a book. It's actually a series. It could happen, ... And the one that was picked up was On the Bus, because it's a hot spot is what they like to call it. The other ones are, it could happen in the cafeteria and it could happen on the playground, some of the key places where we've seen bullying happening at the elementary level, and of course secondary level except for recess. And so I sat down and I wrote the book, and it took me about 8 or 9 months, and I finally decided to go out and try to get it published. I ended up getting Bryson Taylor Publishing, where I'm very honored to have that name for my book. She's also a bestseller for Stick Stones and Stumped and some other wonderful stories, and other authors are part of it. So I chose bullying because it is a hot topic, and it's something that I think is so important for students to be aware of and to help their friends. It's not, thankfully isn't a personal story, or I didn't get bullied growing up, or it wasn't something personal like that. It was just something I need for my current classroom. I found that children who are bullied, they tend to have positive attitudes towards violence. The video games, they're okay with seeing violent acts happen. They're impulsive and have quick tempers. Sometimes they show very little empathy through anyone that's getting any kind of violence happening to them, and also steal and vandalize. Other things that affect school is just bullying at school really affects them a lot. They often disrespect their teachers, the students and classmates, often are thinking of things in their head so it interferes with their classroom learning. They are insecure, they don't love school, they don't enjoy coming to school, always have an excuse of why they don't want to participate or do things. And usually they look like they have a lack of control, or they look like they're not caring. So a lot of these things affect me when I'm in the classroom, and so I have to look deeper into why they're acting this way on the surface. And that's something, as educators, it's really important to just watch those attributes of what kids change, because the change happens so frequently, and I see it all the time. So how do you think? How do you think it affects families? If you had a child who is being bullied, how do you think? This is going to be open, very calm. What do you think happens? Yes, I mean, if my daughter was being bullied, you would sit there and want to do something. So they are at a loss, because you don't know the kid, you don't know how the school handled it. So as a family, your frustration level will rise. What else? What do you think? Yes, that's huge. They're not doing enough. My baby's being hurt. Someone's not doing it. Pointing fingers, blaming, even if it is your kid's fault, there's always someone to blame. And so always the school is involved in some way. How do you think siblings handle it? An older brother, knowing that someone's picking on their little sister. Do you think they're handling that well, or do you think they react in violence, maybe towards that kid or towards other members? So it's a spiral that affects a lot of people, and it's something that really needs to be paid close attention to, because honestly, it does spiral. And the friends and the family, and then you start talking about it, and then other family members get involved, and all of a sudden this really negative atmosphere happens about a school. And I've seen that happen. Thankfully, we do have an Old Bay's bullying prevention program, so parents know we are handling it. It might not be in the way they want, because I think parents want to know every little detail, but knowing that parents are actually a part of the situation and knowing that they're wanting to resolve it is kind of nice, knowing on the school front that there's parents that are still involved and still caring. So it really does affect them. I wanted to talk to you a little bit just about the illustration process. It's a 5-step circle that I'm just going to talk to you about, because it kind of makes it fun just to see the process of how the book kind of turned into a full-colored actual book. I have, and I don't know if you want to look at it, you can pass it around, see it. Would you like to? If you haven't seen my book before, here it is. The first part was the research. I was really honored to have Amber Heslop as part of my illustration team. She was the only illustrator. Part of my contract is I really wanted to have my own illustrator and pick my own illustrator. Amber is actually my sister-in-law. She's extremely talented, had a record deal with Disney, has been on tour with singing, and she's just extremely talented. And on the side, she is just a beautiful drawer, as you'll see. And I picked her up and I decided to see if she would want to do something like this. And she said, "Oh yeah, I'd always wanted to draw a book." And I said, "Good, sign the contract." She didn't realize that I had already gotten the contract. It was kind of cute. So she's my illustrator, and since now she's actually illustrating a different book, which is really quite an honor for her as well. And so you'll see that coming out soon. So for the research process, I did send her a lot of pictures because it's been a long time since she had been in the classroom. She was homeschooled because of her singing career for some of it. So the typical classroom and what I envisioned might not have been what she was envisioning. So I wanted to make sure I got the exact picture that was in my head down in the book. So I sent her pictures. This is actually B1. Pay attention, you'll be here next year. She'll be here at East Pike next year. So here's my classroom. Unfortunately, I'm being moved, but this is my current classroom. So of course I sent all kinds of pictures to her of what a typical room would look like with the chalkboard and the alphabet. Incidentally, this is Amber's poster from one of the CD covers from when she had a record deal. So it's just kind of a fun picture to see what a typical classroom. It's not, my room is very neat and organized, but I wanted to reflect all the little features of a classroom, especially elementary. It's chaotic. Here's our Old Vegas Bully Prevention Program. Do the right thing is our motto, and we have these hanging everywhere in the school. Bright colors, peace signs, do the right thing. You have those? All right, so you've seen them. Wonderful. We have a pledge, and of course, I wanted to show her in general, just bulletin boards that we have. This is just at my classroom, 1 month. And of course, our classroom rules. I always have stars in my classroom because it's part of my theme, shoot for the moon, and if you miss, you'll land among the stars. It's just showing the kids that they need to reach for their goals. And so in my book, I embedded a star somewhere special. So any of the students that have been in my class, when they see a star, they think they took a part of it. And that's kind of exciting for me to see that they get light up thinking they know these hidden secrets in my book. But I just wanted to show her some of the themes that I have as well. This is my daughter, Jocelyn, and she is who the main character is pictured after. It's a character of her. And I just wanted to show pictures of her going to her first day of school and her wearing her big bow and going, and she was in a wedding, and so I just wanted pictures of this environment for her to create a character. Of course it's her niece, so she knows what she looked like, but I just wanted to show her kind of who I wanted it to look like in the book, just kind of like a little first grader ready to go. And this is what she sent me. She sent me the first drawings. I really liked Alana. Alana being named after Jocelyn because her middle name is Alana. And then Cameron the bully. My son at the time was 1 year old. He's currently 3. He just turned 3. And his middle name is Cameron. I use middle names so that he wouldn't think that I'm naming the bully after him. I don't think he'd appreciate that later in life. But I wanted to dedicate the book to the both of them in a simple way. I didn't necessarily love Cameron. I thought he needed to look preppier. So this isn't the drawing that you'll see in the book. It's close, but it's not. I wanted to have more of a collared shirt because we always think of someone as rough and gruff as a bully, but that's not necessarily true. It's the jocks, it's anyone. So we put together a storyboard, which looks really ugly, but it is the most important part of our illustration process. It's 25 pages, and we sat down and I told her what all the words were and the pictures that went with, and this took us hours and hours and hours. And it doesn't look anything special, but it kind of gave us an idea. And a lot of this was over the phone, via text, emailing. She does live in Nashville, Tennessee, so she does live far away for us to always communicate and get together. And then she started with some sketches. and that was a big process as well. So when she sent me this, it was just a preliminary sketch, and I had to give her some tips and suggestions, and we talked about it, and I wanted to add things. I wanted to rotate the bus so I can see a bus number, just little details that now I was able to partake in, which is so exciting. And so then from there, she turned it into line art. So it started as a sketch, and she turned it into a nice coloring page, basically. And these pages are exactly what you would see in a coloring book. It's called line art. And from here, I still had a few changes I wanted to make. I wanted to add a bus number. I have a bus driver in our district that's phenomenal. Her name's MJ, and she is just amazing. And I had her granddaughter in my first class, and she really has great control of her students. And the students on her bus respect her. They don't act out. They're not screaming like you would think of a bus. And so to honor her, I put the bus number as 119. And so I didn't tell her that until the book released, and she was crying. She was all excited, and just something special to give someone who really deserves. It's a thankless job, but it's so important. It's how they get to school. It's how they leave. It's the first person that sees them leaving their house, and it's really important. So the last step of the process was the coloring. So we went from the sketch, then to the line art, and then of course Amber added the beautiful colors. And if you look, you can see the star is on Alana's shirt. The one I told you is in the book somewhere embedded. So it's kind of special for kids to see. And of course you see 119 is on the bus. So it was kind of something special and unique. This just shows some of how it changed from the beginning to the end. If you think of a typical classroom, is this kind of what you think of? The line and the hallways going down, you see the pictures of kids' work and the teacher out there greeting. This is how I would envision it if I were to illustrate, but you don't want to see me illustrate, so I'm glad Amber did it. So this is good for her. Our Indiana colors are red and black. So I put the teacher as red and black because we wear it all the time. We have our school colors. Mrs. Sterrett was a teacher that made a huge impact on me growing up. And some of you who are in the education department may know Dr. Rigg. Do you know Dr. Rigg? One of the books has her name in it because she made such a huge impact on me. She was my 4th grade teacher. And then once again at the undergrad level, she was my professor. And it just so happened this is the book they chose, which was really fun. But hopefully in the future we'll see Dr. Rigg. I think I told her that the day that I got my Distinguished Alumni speech, I think I blurted it out there in one of the classes. It might have been your class. Was she crying? And I didn't realize I hadn't told her yet, but you know. So it's kind of fun just to include all your friends and family in this. Here's our class meeting, and I told you we do this every week. Part of this book and the way it's unique, and for the education department this is kind of nice to know, is that I have little post-it notes as you see in the arrow. In the book I have just natural breaking points that you can just stop and ask questions. Kids want to talk throughout your whole story. This is a really natural break, and it's a good way for them to talk about situations. Parents, grandparents, teachers, we're constantly wanting to know more about school, but when they get home, they're done talking about school. And if they're getting bullied, they don't necessarily want to talk about it. So throughout the book, I have these post-it notes, and it's kind of my trademark, is that there's little questions, and it's nice for the parent because if a kid is hearing a question from the parent, they think they're just prying, they're just trying to be annoying. But if it's in the book and they're asking questions, it's not on the parent, although the parent can get the information. As a teacher, I found it's very valuable as well because those students that necessarily won't talk out loud, if you're stopping, the book tells you to ask the question, they're really open, they love to talk about it, and it starts out very easy in my book. How do you get to school? Do you ride the bus? What do you think it means to have courage? You know, little things, and then it builds up. Have you ever confided into a teacher? Has an older kid ever picked on you? And so it's just a natural way for kids to communicate their lifestyle with you. As she said, I often go into schools. I love doing assemblies, so if you're ever affiliated with a school, please give me a call. I love going in there. I do book talks. Last week I was at Homer City, and I was able to do 2 big assemblies, and then the book fair, and then of course we did some writers workshops, so that was kind of nice, talking to first graders about the writing process. I give them different things. Can I use this?
Sure.
Okay, so something like this where it's a picture, just our line art from the book, and I put it together as a book, and I have them create their own words so that they can tell their own story and be the author. They put on their author caps for the day, and they get to do their own words, and I left the word space for words, and they color it, and you're doing a really nice job. Can I show them how well you did?
Sure.
Look at this. So the only thing you have left to do is add words. You gotta name these characters, huh? So they have a lot of fun. The kids really think they're the author and jump right in. It gives them something fun to do. When I go to assemblies, I often tell them I have lots of resources, because when you teach, you don't just read a book and move on. You have to do some kind of follow-up activity, and then a follow-up activity for the follow-up activity to make it valuable. So I've created those for the teachers and guidance counselors so that you don't have to create them. That was part of my contract, is that my publisher wanted to do that as well. So that's been very nice and valuable for teachers, because I know you're very busy. So on my personal website, it could happen on thebus.com, there's a resource tab. This is the actual website. You can go and look at resources, and if you ever need them, or if you go into a classroom, print them out, take them, use them. These resources are there to help you and help teachers, and have valuable follow-up activity for students, which makes it easier for the teacher because you're constantly creating things. And then of course, we have an app, which is exciting. So it's a lot cheaper. If you have an iPad, you can download it from iTunes and the App Store. And it's nice because you can read it to the class, or Amber, the illustrator, will read it to you. You can turn her on and off, the voiceover. And it's just a nice way. Kids nowadays, I mean, they all have the iPads, they all have them, so at least you know they're reading something healthy for them. I have my personal website. If you ever need to get in contact with me, you can either do it through, it could happen on thebus.com, it goes straight to me. And then, of course, my school website as well, it comes to me. I want to leave it open, yes? It's the actual book. So it's a digital resource of the book that you can project on the whiteboard, depending on the resource that you have. I'm really excited about it. It's the first one that my publisher did. When I went to Nashville to meet with Amber, I also met with a very skilled gentleman that was able to create it, and he created the app for me. And he's worked with a contract through my publisher, and that was something really exciting and fresh for her, and just neat. I mean, I have an app. Who has that? It's so cool. So, just so new for me. I mean, I'm just an Indiana girl, and it's so neat that all these little things come to us when you look for it. I want to leave this up to you as questions and answers, and anything you want to know, or questions that you may have about the book, or anything at all. I'd love to just talk and keep it very open. Is there anything, or any questions or concerns, or anything you want to know? Sure.
Do you want to continue writing books?
You bet. It's not something you quit your day job for. It's something you do it because you're passionate. And I've always wanted to write a book. I always thought it was an unreachable goal. It's kind of one of those, who likes rejection, so why try? So when I started saying I would love to, my husband was the only person I told that to. I've never told my parents that I wanted to, because I thought they would laugh. You know, you tell them these goals, it's just a joke. Who writes a book? You know? And so I just had a baby in March, and it was April, and I thought, you know what, I need a day. I'm just gonna take some time away for myself. And of course, where do you go? The classroom. And so where else would a mom go? So I went to my classroom, and I was just sitting there, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna use this time to just look up some publishers. And so I looked up 5, and I thought, I can handle 5 rejection letters, I'll recover, I'll cry all month, whatever, and then I'll send 5 more in, and I can do it in small amounts. And I would be able to handle it. And when I submitted 5, I heard back from 4 people, and they wanted my manuscript, and then I submitted it to all 4, and then I ended up having 3 offers. I went with Bryson Taylor because her philosophy was right where I was. She wanted me to be a teacher and a mom and an author. It was beautiful because every time I called, she answered the phone. She's very passionate about bullying. So it just fit. And I remember the first day I was like, Mom, just want to tell you, I think I'm going to have a published book. I mean, her look was just kind of funny, but I mean, I was so scared about it, but it's something that I wanted to do. I have written 2 other books. They told me if I sold so many that they would pick up the other books. So far, I'm not at that number. It's a lot harder than you would think, because even if you have a lot of friends, I mean, do they need a book? You know, so it's been a fun adventure. It's fun meeting all kinds of new people and new students. But I'm learning a ton. Every time I go somewhere, it's fun to learn new things. That's definitely something I could see myself doing more of. And I'd love to say that it could happen on the playground, and it could happen in the cafeteria, would come around. It'd be a lot of fun. It's a lot of work. I mean, it really is a lot of work. I should have hired maybe someone in marketing. Now I know that. But yeah, I would love to do that. And it's cute because since this book has come out, I get a lot of emails and a lot of phone calls about people sharing personal stories, and I just love to be a listener and hear about it. And I guess something that was really eye-opening was it just doesn't happen for kids, it's adults too. And I have had so many adults say, why don't you write a book about it could happen from your spouse, or it could happen, and all these ideas. And so it's kind of an ongoing joke. Whatever we're doing, someone has to say, it could happen in the library. It could happen anywhere. So it's kind of fun, and that's why it's ... and on the bus. So hopefully in the future we'll have more. I'd love to be doing it more often in the summers when I'm not working. We'll see. Any other questions? Any thoughts, questions, concerns? Yeah?
Have you thought, you mentioned marketing to get the series.
Yeah?
Have you thought about using Kickstarter?
Great question. Kickstarter wouldn't be something I could do because I already have a publisher.
Oh, so you're already, okay.
Kickstarter is exactly what Amber and the other person writing a book did to get their book up and running. So that's kind of neat. I didn't really know about it back then, but because of my publisher, she took care of all of that. The only thing that I was in charge of is trying to get it out there. I mean, it's on Amazon, it's on our website, it's on all those places, but to have someone that really promotes it and has those contacts, I just want Ellen DeGeneres to pick up my book. I want to go on her show so badly. Wouldn't that be awesome? So that would be so cool. I just don't know that famous person that just needs to pick it up and take off with it, because I really do feel it is a valuable book for so many people, and I wouldn't just say that. I really do feel that way. Yeah? Absolutely. My district was very supportive. In fact, they were so honored by it. At the time, my superintendent was Dr. Clausen, and she was just so amazed, and she was privileged. They took it to the school board, and they had a standing ovation. I mean, they were so they were really, it was really special. Actually, my superintendent switched, and then Mr. Dale Kirsch came in, and he allowed me to go in and do an assembly for all of the elementary schools and the junior high. So they did promote it, as in I did come and do the program. So they were very supportive, and my principal has been very supportive about me. Mr. Springer has been really nice as well. So I can't thank them enough. They've been very good. They threw me a lunch and a breakfast, and they've been really nice. My faculty is just, it's family. They're really good. good people. I don't know what time it is. Any other questions or thoughts as we... I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
How was your work in your work? How have you seen it change how students perceive bullying or how it's helped different students avoid bullying?
Great question. I think just having someone to listen to, an outlet, like I said, the Post-it notes have been very helpful for students who don't necessarily like to talk or are shy or backward. It kind of gives them an outlet. I think that students feel very comfortable coming to me. I feel like I handle a lot of bullying situations, and parents are very supportive, and they come to me, even if they're not in my school, they'll come to me, tell me a situation, ask me how I would handle it, ask me if I would go to the principal and see if they would handle it. And of course, I have to be very careful about that. But I think it's just nice to know that there's a lot of support out there, and to know that there's support everywhere as far as family and coworkers. They have really supported just the whole thing about making sure that kids know that you're ready to listen. One of the biggest things when I go into assemblies is I talk about character education. So it's not like necessarily saying bully, 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 bully. It's about how are you going to be a good friend? How are you going to change how you are so that people want to be around you? And I think that's really important at the young age, is that you need to teach them. Parents don't necessarily teach their children anymore how to be a good student, how to be a good friend, how to look for those, when you look for people, are you trying to get the class clown, or are you getting someone that you want to be like? And so just showing them how to be a good friend has really been valuable, and something I always talk to them about. Don't judge a book by their cover, and look to the inside. And during my assemblies, I pull out a geode and I say, oh, is this a fun rock? And it's rolled dull on the outside. The only people that love that rock is kindergarten. They're like, yeah, I love that rock. And I'm like, no, kindergarten, don't answer. And then when we open it, we see the gems on the inside. And I use that as a visual to show kids that we really need to get to know the inside of students versus just judging them on the outside. And so I feel like maybe kids open up a little bit more and try to give other friends a chance. I'm hoping. I get a lot of stories, at least. I love hearing them, though. Yes? I do. I'm doing $14 tonight as a little special for IUP, since I love IUP. And I have a credit card, and I can do check or cash. Yes.
Good question.
Were you ever bullied?
I cannot remember a time that I was actually bullied. I'm sure it's out there, but I'm probably just too blonde to have seen it. I don't know. I was oblivious, I think, but I've seen it. I don't think I was really a part of it. Girls can be pretty nasty, though. I did see it a lot with girls, with don't be a friend because there's two of us and that third person. I saw that growing up. You girls know what I'm talking about. Can girls be mean sometimes? Hopefully not your class. Sometimes. I think everyone has a bad day. Good question. How's the pictures coming? You adding words yet?
No.
No, not yet. In the progress. Very good. If you have any other questions, feel free to come up and ask. If you haven't seen the book, please feel free to look at it. If you have any other questions, please come see me, visit the website, email me. I'd love to hear from you, and thanks for having me. It's such a privilege to be here.